What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, I'm going to be running the double crocodile or alligator backline here of Skeledirge and Shadow Feraligatr. A very deadly, pedal to the metal force to be reckoned with, and I'm going to be pairing it with a Guzzlord lead. Now, one could argue that Guzzlord is a futuristic alligator, shaped and formed by time and space itself, so we're just going to roll with it. Triple crocodile team here. Guzzlord and Skeledirge is going to be our core. This core is incredibly powerful in the Open Great League, and then Shadow Feraligatr is going to be utilized as a safe swap if we lose lead with the Guzzlord. This team did incredibly well for me, going on a 9-1 spree in the 23-2400 ELO range, which at this current point in the season is still pretty good, right? So I hope you guys enjoy these were some really good games. That's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoy this team. Let's go and get right into it. All right, getting into the first battle, we have Guzzlord on the lead versus Vigoroth. Not a good matchup, but we can come back into this later with energy, so we're going to go ahead and swap out into the Feraligatr, and we do draw out a Giratina Origin here in the Great League. Now, we're going to build up to Ice Beam and then throw the Hydro Cannon here. Ice Beam is a threat, basically a one-shot right here, and Hydro Cannon will still do a good amount of damage, and they decide to respect it and shield. Now, I'm going to look to no shield right here. Guzzlord could easily come in and farm down with Dragon Tail while resisting all of the moves, but my opponent went for Ominous Wind, which is going to give me an opportunity now to go for another Hydro Cannon. This is going to do a beautiful amount of chip damage, and now Shadow Claw is going to simultaneously KO. So what we have here is a classic standoff. You never want to toss in the Pokemon first. You want to wait till the last second, and I'm going to go with Skeledirge, and they came in with Vigoroth. So we already have a good advantage right here. The question is, what is the Pokemon in the back? Do I need to save shields for it? In this case, I'm going to look to shield here on Skeledirge as it was just a body slam, and then we're going to make sure we overload on energy and go for a disarming voice. This is going to do a good amount of neutral damage here against the Vigoroth and might force the final shield from them, but they decide to let it go. And now I got to start questioning why. What could be in the back? What is going to be possible for Skeledirge in this game? So I'm going to shield. It was another Rock Slide, and it's an Annihilate in the back. So a double ghost backline by my opponent, but unfortunately for them, Skeledirge is a sweeper. Skeledirge can put in the work as Disarming Voice is shielded, and we go ahead and go for another one right away. Now, this is not going to be enough to KO and Annihilate here in the Great League with the amount of health remaining, as they will be able to get to a Shadow Ball. But what it did do was get it low enough, and Guzzlord is still healthy and alive. Boom! Dragon Tail is going to be doing quite a bit of damage, and there is nothing my opponent can do. Guzzlord is going to be taking this one, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Buckle up. This team is solid. All right, moving to the next one. Guzzlord, Poliwrath, another bad lead. We're looking to go into Feraligatr right away to start getting ahead on energy, and in comes a Lantern. This is going to happen a lot to you guys, and what I will say is be thankful. Be so thankful that you got the Lantern out onto the field, because that is the best thing that can happen for you if you are losing lead and losing mid-game. Because what this does is it opens up the door for Skeledirge, boom, to sweep, okay? Because Guzzlord heavily resists, or it just resists. I like to say heavily resists because of how thick it is. It's going to be resisting Surf and Thunderbolt here. All moves from Lantern are resisted, which is why the safe swap of Feraligatr draw out Lanterns is so powerful, because we don't need to be shielding on the back end. Guzzlord can easily just farm down, and look at this. We have lots of energy. Now, if we take a look at what my opponent's team has. It has a Poliwrath and has a Lantern. So they need an answer for grass-type Pokemon. And my hope is that it's a Steel or that it's an Ice. Because if that's the case, or a Fire, I mean, that could be alright. We're going to go ahead and go into Skeledirge now to get ahead on energy. And they decided to stay in. This tells me they might actually be weak. I will decide to shield. Icy Wind is likely going to be thrown. Yeah, it's going to be Icy Wind, which is fine. My opponent is still staying in, so I'm going to go ahead and throw Disarming Voice here. This is obviously going to KO the Poliwrath, even though we got debuff from Icy Wind, and they decide to give up a shield, and they are clearly, this is a sign, everyone, they are extremely weak to Skeledirge, so double shield it no matter what. We do not want a potential Scald to be getting through, and the final Pokemon is Abomasnow. This couldn't get any better, everyone, and this is why I said be thankful. If you lose lead and get a Lantern in the mid game, be thankful, because Skeledirge is likely going to be putting in so much work. There's going to be Cresselias, there's going to be Skarmories, there's going to be Abomasnows. Skeledirge is going to delete them all, and you're going to have so much fun. As Shadow Ball right here is going to be taking out the Abomasnow. Boom! Down it goes, and then we can incinerate down the Poliwrath, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. Alright. Moving into the next one, we have Guzzlord on the lead versus Sylveon. Charmer, bad. Bad news bears. We go straight into Feraligatr right here. Charm is going to be the hardest hitting move. I should have gone for a Hydro Cannon right there, but they swap in an Umbreon. And like I said at the beginning, everyone, with the Guzzlord lead, a Feraligatr safe swap draws out, most commonly, the hardest counters to a Skeledirge. Because the core of Guzzlord and Skeledirge is so polarizing, if you lose lead with Guzzlord, that means they have another anchor that is a counter to Skeledirge. That's how team building works, everyone. And what Feraligatr does is it draws it out onto the field. And once again, Guzzlord is going to be able to come in and aggressively farm down. Now, unfortunately, we won't be able to do a lot of good damage to Sylveon. I mean, chip damage could be definitely needed, right? But they're going to be resisting both Brutal Swing and Dragon Claw. So what we're going to look to do is go into Skeledirge right away. Umbreon's out of the game, and we'll have to see what is going to be in the back. But Sylveon, much like Poliwrath, is deciding to stay in and choosing its fate, as eventually Incinerate is going to take this thing down. So we're going to look to get ourselves a shield from the opponent as they're deciding to stay in, and this is, you and I both know, they would have swapped out if they had a second hard counter, but they don't, as we can safely shield the Psyshock, and the next Pokemon is going to be a Alolan Sandslash. Look at the Incinerate damage! It is... Ooh, I'm booming with fast moves today. Skeledirge is the sweeper of this team, everyone, as we stop the Ice Punch, and now we go for back-to-back disarming voice. They only have one shield remaining. Skeledirge is an absolute monster, as we do get a shield, and we go for the second one. We still have Guzzlord in the back, which could come in and close this game out if needed, because we had enough energy on it. Boom, down it goes, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. Alright, moving to the next one. Guzzlord into Talonflame. Hey, we want to lead. How? What can we do here? Well, obviously, Guzzlord does very well in this matchup. And if a Talonflame is deciding to stay in, you need to start questioning why. Talonflame can pair very well with a Lantern at its core. So what we want to do is we want to keep Guzzlord healthy, because my opponent is deciding to throw a charge move. They're probably trying to sacrifice the Talonflame because they are core broken by Guzzlord, and we're going to take advantage of that. We're going to farm down. And now we see that Annihilate comes in, so we're going to go ahead and go for a Dragon Claw here to do some chip damage, and then we're going to get into Feraligatr. And I would not be surprised if a Lantern swaps in, but it's not. It's Trevenant. This is good as well. Same, but different. Guzzlord is hard walling a Trevenant. It resists the Seed Bomb and it resists the Shadow Ball. Dark and Dragon typing, as the Trevenant right here is going to look to go for Seed Bomb. We don't need to give up a shield on Feraligatr. Feraligatr is all about drawing out the weaknesses and applying pressure with Hydro Cannon. Water pressure, you get it? Yeah, you guys got that joke. Alright, Guzzlord now. Obviously, we're going to be coming in, and we're just going to be aggressively fast-moving down. We're going to be able to tank a Shadow Ball. It's going to be close. But remember, Skeledirge in the ones against Annihilate should be able to take this game, as a Shadow Ball, barely knocks us out. And now Skeledirge is going to come in, and let's cook. Here we go. Annihilate is just doesn't have a hope. Let's be completely honest. Double Night Slash might be able to do it if they get a boost on the first one. The second one would KO, but this time we decide to shield, and it is going to be Shadow Ball, so that's going to be a good game. They do decide to surrender. Alright, moving to the next one. Guzzlord, Lantern. You love it. This is the Pokemon you want to see on the lead. If you see this thing on the lead, lock it in, because you're looking pretty good. Now, once again, much like the Talonflame lead, you got to start questioning, why are they deciding to stay in? What are we potentially core breaking here? Are they concerned, extremely concerned about Guzzlord, or are they just trying to soft lose and farm up on energy? If that's going to be the case, what we're going to look to do is after we beat this Lantern, we're going to come in with Feraligatr, and actually they swap into Charge Bug right there. So now we're going to come in with Skeledirge. We do throw the Dragon Claw here to do some chip damage, but Skeledirge is going to come in and we are going to roast this thing. Now, with a Lantern lead, Charge Bug, that's the name of the Pokemon, a Charge Bug safe swap, we're going to be looking to shield right there. And why? We have a lot of energy here on Skeledirge that can go a lot of places. And Lantern, just because it's going to be resisting and has type advantage, doesn't mean it's not going to get one-shot by a Disarming Voice or a Shadow Ball here. So what we're going to do is we're going to look to shield on the Surf. The reason being is we might just be able to get to a double Disarming Voice before they can get to another Surf. Let's see if we can do it. Disarming Voice here, going to be getting the final shield from our opponent, and we do one more Incinerate, and we get it. This is perfect. Skeledirge now, Lantern counter confirmed as we do take it down. Boom, and the final Pokemon is going to be a Cresselia. So this is beautiful. Every single Pokemon on this team can do well against it. Obviously, Feraligatr has to watch out for Grass Knot, and Guzzlord has to watch out for Moonblast, but Shadow Ball and Incinerate and a counter swap into Guzzlord, and that is going to seal the deal here, as this is going to be a good game, very well played. So Lanterns on lead is all within your control, and if you get enough energy on Skeledirge like I did, and your opponent is basically energy dry or near energy dry, right, because they threw a charge move into Guzzlord, you have an opportunity there to completely eliminate it. So good game. Alright, moving into the next battle. Guzzlord versus Altaria here on the lead. Dragon on Dragon, but we are superior as we do have Dragon Claw as a charge move as opposed to Sky Attack. Now my opponent decides to swap out into Skarmory, and obviously Skeledirge now is going to be counter swapping in. Now, with an Altaria lead and a Skarmory safe swap, this has gotta be, or very close to, the top performing team from last season, which was Altaria, Lantern, and Skarmory. I ran it myself. It was incredibly powerful, but also very funky to try to use. It was unconventional, and sure enough, there is the Lantern. So what we're going to do here with Skeledirge is we're just going to try to pump as much damage as possible into this Lantern. So we're just going to go for an onslaught of charge moves. Disarming Voice got a shield. Shadow Ball now has an opportunity to connect. 50% HP gone, and this is looking very, very good for us as we can safely look to no shield and let the Skeledirge go down because Guzzlord has such a good matchup. My opponent decides to swap into Altaria, so I'm going to come in with the Feraligatr right here. And this is where we got to start. I think I got to shield. I think I got to shield the Sky Attack because I think I can outpace to the next Hydro Cannon, so double Hydro Cannon. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case. If they decide to shield and throw, then Guzzlord farms down, and that's a good game. And they decided to do that, which is perfectly fine. Hydro Cannon now is going to be coming through, and I decide to undercharge it right here. The reason being is I don't want it to KO. You guys are going to see they get to the charge move. I didn't want it to KO because if I did, Lantern farms down my Feraligatr. Now I get to farm down the Altaria. This is a next level kind of play that you guys want to try to look for, and I'm going to go for Brutal Swing. This is going to be the harder hitting move. It's stab, same time attack bonus, but it hits a little bit harder than Dragon Claw in the neutral. Boom, and we take out Lantern. That is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, next one. Lantern once again on the lead. Very nice lead for us. The first half of this video was all bad leads. My opponent decides to swap out into Shadow Alolan Sandslash, and I'm just going to say this. Shadow Alolan Sandslash is not a safe swap. Personally, in my opinion, it is just not. The only reason why you would do that is if you had a Bastiodon maybe in the back, but then again, Dugong is a better safe swap there. So Yeah, Sandslash is a great lead or anchor, but I personally don't think it's a great safe swap. So we're going to go ahead and go for Shadow Ball right here into Skarmory. We want to try to get resources or free damage, and they decide to shield it, which is fine. We're going to look to go for Disarming Voice now to get some extra chip damage through. My opponent is likely going to be overloading quite a bit on energy because they definitely need it in order to potentially win this game. But we are in the ones, and we do have a healthy Guzzlord in the back. Now, this is not a situation where I would be giving up a shield to keep Skeledirge alive. They have too much energy and health. So now we come in with Guzzlord, and they swap in Annihilate. So Feraligatr is going to come right in. But this is now where things get very, very dangerous. Annihilate with Night Slash can be trouble to deal with in the ones. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it to a second Hydro Cannon. So this is going to put my Guzzlord in a very critical position to try to win this game. As you guys can see, the Annihilate is able, maybe my opponent misclicked the safe swap, by the way, now thinking about it. With the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Guzzlord is going to come in, and we are going to go for the aggressive farm down. My opponent just showed they only have Night Slash, but what I get to do, the opportunity before me, is to be able to farm down and now go for double Dragon Claw here against Lantern. And this is so, so beautiful. Guzzlord is an incredibly powerful Pokemon here for the Open Great League meta, as double Dragon Claw plus a Dragon Tail damage right there is gonna be enough. So what looked to be like a losing game because of Annihilate turned into a win because of Guzzlord's ability to spam charge moves. Good game. All right, next one, Whimsicott. This is a tough one. I'm going into Feraligatr. Whimsicott core breaks our Feraligatr and Guzzlord here because of the grass fairy typing, right? So I'm going to go ahead and shield. It is going to be Seed Bomb, and then we're going to look to just soften up the Whimsicott here, and then I will come in with Skeledirge. I'm going to let Feraligatr go down if they decide to stay in. What I really want to do is just soften up this little cotton ball right here and try to go for a Hydro Cannon, but they decide to throw the Seed Bomb right away, which is fine. That is not enough to KO us. My Feraligatr hangs on with 1 HP in a dream, and the Hydro Cannon here is going to do exactly what I was hoping for, soften it up. And then we're going to come in with Skeledirge and look to farm down. We should be able to get 2 Incinerates through, so there's 1, but they swap out into Whiscash, so now I get to swap into Guzzlord and have a pretty decent matchup. Obviously, Whiscash does very well against Skeledirge with Mud Shot and Mud Bomb, but Guzzlord at least takes neutral damage. And if Whiscash is the hardest counter, it may not be. This could be a double Mudboy, right? It could be Skarmory in the, or not Skarmory, Swampert in the back. It could be Feraligatr in the back. If that's the case, it might be over. But my only win condition here is to really like go deep with Guzzlord, trying to get 2 Dragon Claws off and save a shield for Skeledirge. That is my only hope, because now that we gotten a shield from my opponent, if it is Feraligatr, Shadow Feraligatr, or Shadow Swampert, guess what? Skeledirge one-shots with a Shadow Ball. So I'm going to save the shield. I'm going to come in and get a free Incinerate through, and we're going to see what we can do here. As we go ahead and get it through, they will get the charge move. Obviously, I'm shielding here. We have to be concerned about a potential Whimsicott sacrificial swap. So let's see what comes in. It's going to be Registeel. And my opponent decides to swap, and that's exactly what we were anticipating. They will get to the charge move, though. But again, this is not going to be doing enough damage to knock us out, as we will resist it. And now we're going to be going for double Shadow Ball here against Registeel. Registeel has quite a bit of bulk, but Shadow Ball and Incinerate is going to be enough damage to take it out. So this is going to be a good game. Very well played. Skeledirge once again proving how strong of a sweeper it is in the Open Great League. Boom! Meta. Good game. All right. Moving into the next one, we have Guzzlord on the lead versus Charizard. So this is kind of a tough one. Charizard does have access to Dragon Tail, and they swap into Clefable, and I instantly go to Skeledirge. And this might have been a mistake. Clefable is a Pokemon that Feraligatr can do well against with Shadow Claw and Hydro Cannon. The tough thing about Skeledirge is if they have another Charmer in the back, I might be in trouble. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Shadow Ball here just to knock out the Clefable. and then we're going to look to load up on energy with Skeledirge and try to see if we can get a shield here from the Charizard. Now, I'm going to decide to go for Disarming Voice, and the reason being is the Charizard will have to throw a Dragon Claw in order to take me out, and they decide to no shield. So that was an incredible call by my opponent, and unfortunately I get there just in time. This should be getting a shield now, but the tough thing is I don't know what they have in the back. We do get a shield from them. We're in the 2-to-1 shielding scenario, so I'm going to come in with Guzzlord and look to farm down. But what I'm concerned about is a Lantern. I always have a fear of a Lantern on backlines, especially paired with a Charizard lead. So I'm going to decide to double shield right here. And it was not a Lantern, it was a Registeel. So this is why I said I think I messed myself up by coming in with Skeledirge into Clefable when I could have potentially come in with the Feraligatr there and still handled that mid-game matchup, because now I'm just going to be getting one shot by Focus Blast and Zap Cannon. Unfortunately for me, boom! Booms get served on both sides of the battlefield in Go Battle League. So this is going to be a good game to my opponent. I have to get double Hydro Cannon in order to win because they still have one shield remaining, but I won't get there in time, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. Boom! Down I go. Alright, moving into the next one. Guzzlord versus Altaria. We've seen this before. Altaria lead, very good for us. And what I'm noticing is they decide to stay in, and this was reminiscent of that team earlier that I faced off against, which was Altaria, Lantern, Skarmory. So if my opponent decides to shield, which they do, I'm going to go into Feraligatr to get that Lantern onto the field, because every ounce of their being will want to come into that matchup. If it is, in fact, Skarmory in the back, obviously Skeledirge is going to be taking this game for us. And what's great about Feraligatr, even against a Lantern, what might be one of the harder counters to it in the top meta, is you can still do a good amount of damage. Look at how much health we eliminated. That's like 95% of Lantern's health and a 2-to-1 shield advantage still. So this is very good. We're going to let the Guzzlord come in right here and get some Dragon Tails through. We can safely no-shield these charge moves, and we're going to be coming in with the Skeledirge to close this game out, as we will look to try to go for the... Actually, I think Switch Clock is coming back up. Yeah, I decided to swap, and sure enough, there was the Skarmory, and they bring in Altaria. So this is going to be a good game. The Altaria, unfortunately, only has one shield remaining. It's basically just through the Sky Attack, so we have energy advantage against it in the ones, considering how this all maths out, right? And Skarmory in the back is just not gonna like the Incinerate Shadow Ball damage. So what I'm going to do here is safely double shield. We're going to overload on energy so that we can get to a Shadow Ball against Skarmory because it is out of shields. And now this is looking to be a good game. Disarming Voice is going to be enough to KO. Skarmory coming back in we need a 1 Incinerate, I believe, to get to the Shadow Ball, which we do, and that is going to seal the deal, because what Skarmory has to do now is it has to throw a Sky Attack to take us out. It does not have enough energy to build up to 2 Sky Attacks to win this game. So by forcing the energy here with Skeledirge, we are able to now come in with Guzzlord and look to go for Brutal Swing to win this game, and that is going to be a good battle, very well played. That came down to a team read, a feeling. The opponent shielded the Altaria, so I drew out the Lantern, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. This team was incredibly powerful, everyone. I have not had this much fun in Go Battle League in a little while. With such a unique team. Not only was it unique, Guzzlord, Skeledirge, and Feraligatr, but it was powerful, and it did well against the Great League meta. You guys saw bad lead losses, how we handled Lantern safe swaps, what we did against Lantern leads, and how we were able to lock that down. It really came down to trusting in Skeledirge to sweep those games once you get the hardest counter out of there. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.